Coming up on Kochie's Business Builders, how to secure a government grant for your business, navigating the world of franchising, and menswear entrepreneur Brent Wilson's tips for success. Hello and welcome back to another Kochie's Business Builders, a jam-packed episode ahead of us. But first, news you can use. And creating the perfect work environment is essential for any business, but it's so hard to master it because there are so many different elements involved. Have you thought about the temperature of your workplace? A new study out of the US shows if the temperature is too cold, it will cost the business an extra 10% per hour because of lost productivity and a 44% increase in mistakes. Now, the perfect temperature for a work environment is apparently 21 degrees, so set the air condition correctly. Now, every politician will say to you, they're here to help. For most of us, we can't figure out exactly how. But would you believe there's an enormous pool of government grants available to all of us small business owners? The problem is trying to find them. Earlier in the studio, I caught up with Bruce Patton, and he's going to tell us how. Bruce, give us an idea of what sort of grants are available for small business.
There's so many grants available. They all fall into about two main categories. They're either activity-based or they're industry-based. With the activity-based, you're talking about the R&D tax incentives, 45% refund for R&D, export grants up to $150,000, Enterprise Connect, there's $20,000 there for improving businesses. There's Commercialisation Australia, up to $2 million, dollar for dollar, to commercialise products.
Now, does the government come along and knock on your door and tell you about these grants, or do you have to go and hunt them down?
Unfortunately, you have to find them. The government does have websites out there and places where you can look for them, but at the end of the day, it's up to the business owners to identify the grants are there and to claim them.
So give us an example of a grant that's out there, but a lot of businesses may not know that they're eligible for.
Let me give you two examples, because I see them every day. One is the R&D scheme. A lot of people don't understand they're doing R&D. I went to a large manufacturer recently who was looking to change the way he implemented the introduction of raw materials into his system. Couldn't find anything on the market, so he had to build it himself. He thought it was repairs and maintenance. It ended up being R&D, and it was worth $2 million.
Wow.
Another one was a guy that was manufacturing goods in China and shipping it from China direct to the US. He didn't realise that was classed as an export for Australian grant purposes.
So do you have to physically develop something, or can it be for services?
You have to be the principal in the activities. You have to own the IP, or you have to be the Australian entity that's going to derive the benefit. At the end of the day, the grants are there to provide a benefit to the Australian economy. So if you look at it from that viewpoint, if you're doing something to improve the Australian economy, you're probably likely to get a grant.
Now, Bruce, give us your top tips that will help a business secure a grant.
So first identify where do you want to take the business, and then search to find, is there a grant available that can help you achieve those objectives? When you identified the grant, you want to talk to the people in the government that administer it, because at the end of the day, it's the people administering it that really make the decisions as opposed to legislation. You want to talk to people that have claimed it. Online, you can often find people that have been through and claimed that grant and talk to them about how they succeeded, what they did. There's a lot of information available, and I guess the best thing is talk to someone that's in the grants business. A grants consultant is an ideal person who does it on a day-to-day basis.
All right, mate, thanks very much for joining us. Some terrific tips there. Would you believe Bruce was telling me his website gets 15,000 hits a month from grant seekers? Now, go to the website for the full interview, kochiesbusinessbuilders.com.au. Up next on Business Builders, the tips and traps of franchising, and later, great tips from fashion designer Brent Wilson.
This business tip brought to you by NAB. We see Australian business.
Before making any decision on which franchise to buy, we recommend that you ask yourself the following questions. Do I have a passion for the franchise brand and its product or concept? Will I be motivated to work in the business for the next 5 to 10 years? Do I see profitable growth in the franchise? And if so, can I acquire more outlets once established? Do I share the same vision, values and work ethic as the franchisor? Will I be happy to comply with the existing system without wanting to make my own changes? If the answer to all of these questions is yes, then it's likely the franchise you're considering will suit you, and your relationship with the franchisor will be a positive and mutually beneficial one. If not, consider another franchise system which is more consistent with your business objectives and management style to avoid issues down the track. While the initial setup costs of buying a franchise can be higher than normal, you're buying into an established brand, defined processes and a proven model. And if you've picked a good system, then you should be confident of ongoing support from your franchisor.
Visit nab.com.au/small business for more information. In business, franchising is a big deal, whether you think you're buying into a franchise or turning your existing business into a franchise. There is so much to know to get it right because it's not for everyone. Let's hear from one of Australia's widest and fastest growing franchises on how to do it right. Aussie Farmers Direct was founded 7 years ago with the aim of bringing back the local guys, those suppliers trusted in the community that deliver fresh, quality food to people's front doors. Franchising expert Stephen Giles caught up with Braden Lord to share their tips on building a winning franchise system.
So in terms of tips for potential franchisees, I always say to franchisees that they should take their holidays and only employ top quality staff, and that seems to resonate. What tips have you got, I guess, for potential franchisees, Brad?
Well, I think if potential franchisees coming into the business, I'd be saying make sure you're wholehearted about the system.
Yeah.
You know, be very, very convinced that's what you want to do and you believe in what the system can provide. Make sure that you've sought really sound, strong advice, and be prepared for, you know, have that tenacity, have that drive behind you that's going to get you through the tough times and still have the energy to celebrate the good.
Yeah. Because I mean, franchising is a successful way of doing business, but it's not foolproof. And, you know, there's 1,100 different franchise systems there. I know that a lot, you know, the psychologists will say that probably that self-evaluation step is perhaps the key step, isn't it? That are you really suited to the business? Do you really love it? Because, you know, that some businesses will be better suited to people than others.
Yeah.
What do you think are some of the fundamentals, if you were thinking of franchising your business, that you must think of first?
Yeah. I think first and foremost is that the business needs to be profitable. It needs to have a sustainable track record, and more than just 6 months or 12 months, and in different environments. So one store doesn't for my liking really make a successful business that you can then replicate. So having enough of a demonstrated history proven concept, that'd be certainly one. I think the other side, and the FCA is fantastic for this, is being able to provide advice and infrastructure and learnings that help people to make sure that they approach the business with the right expertise and understanding to be able to get it going. So doing it out of your garage or out of your home office without advice and without sound sort of input into the business model, I think is fraught with danger. When you're working with a franchise network and you're perhaps working on a royalty system, which is less than the top line sales, which is what you used to before you started franchising, you've actually got to make sure that the business itself is profitable on that level. So from our perspective in Aussie Farmers Direct, we've always seen low barrier to entry financially getting into the franchise, where the business, including a franchisee, makes its money on the ongoing, is being able to sell lots of product through the system. So the important aspect is that we don't rely on new round sales in order to make our business profitable. We've got a sustainable long-term business that's built on just selling great product to people.
And one of the great things about franchising is it gives you the systems and the back office and all of that, so that the people who are good at the customer service, I mean, they must love this business because you do all the back office for them, you do all the sourcing and stuff, and they just have to engage with their community.
And I think what the franchisor needs to work at is how do I actually make it simple for the franchisee to run their business so they concentrate on the things that really matter that a franchisor can't do. So a franchisor can't, sit at the other side of a counter and serve someone a loaf of bread, or can't deliver, to literally hundreds of thousands of households great quality Australian product, but they can actually make a system that's very simple for a franchisee to be able to fulfil that.
There are barriers to entry to getting into franchising now, though. You've got to get your documentation done properly, and the code sets up some processes that franchisees have to get a disclosure document. They have to have it for 14 days. They must get legal or they're supposed to get legal and business advice, and I'm sure that you'd encourage them to do that. So the whole framework is almost foolproof if people follow that, a bit like franchising. You follow the system. So it is a good environment in Australian franchising, isn't it?
They've got a great operation, haven't they? They've grown to cover the whole country by connecting consumers with farmers and having a great network of franchisees to make that connection. After the break, we hear from one of Australia's leading menswear designers and how he wooed the big retail chains to stock his gear. This competition is brought to you by Yellow Pages. Could your business really benefit from some advice? Thanks to Yellow Pages, you could win a 1-hour business session with me in your closest capital city. All you need to do is tell us in 25 words or less how your business could benefit from a one-on-one chat. To enter, go to the Kochie's Business Builders website and click on the Yellow Pages competition to submit your details and your answer. Starting a new business can be risky for anyone, but particularly if you do it when you're young, in your early 20s. Our next guest did just that and has built a clothing line with customers ranging from the entertainer Prince through to Australia's biggest department stores. Brett Wilson is this week's entrepreneur in the spotlight. From rookie electrician to one of Australia's top menswear fashion brands, Brett Wilson proves that dreaming big and working really hard can win over the big guys. Now, Brett, tell us a bit about the business. How did it start?
I got a job in the fashion industry and started at the very bottom. And from there, I learnt enough to, what I thought was enough to start my own business.
So why have you specialised in menswear when a lot of designers either do both or just women's?
For me, it's about really refining my craft, and I'm always evolving and learning with menswear, and I want to kind of keep pushing myself within that kind of market.
Brent, a key trigger for the business was getting a foothold into David Jones. A big customer, a big department store chain. A lot of people want to do it, very few succeed. Why did you?
I was very persistent. We were very lucky and we got an opportunity to trial with 2 stores. And when you get such a great opportunity like that, you don't want to let it go. So I worked as hard as I possibly could to ensure that it flourished.
So you targeted David Jones directly. Why?
It was one of my goals, to be in one of the best department stores within Australia.
So it fitted your brand,
yes,
number
definitely.
one. Its brand and your brand were a good match.
Yeah.
And is that the secret? To not try and scattergun to everybody, but to say, okay, here's the store that's the best fit,
yeah,
and I can make it win.
Yeah, I think you've got to focus on what works for you as a company. And for us, it was David Jones and the fit and what they stand for. So that's what we went for. Yeah.
But that's a two-edged sword, isn't it? Big customer, but also it's a risk if they go or they put unrealistic demands on you. How do you protect the business as a whole from that?
We do have other large customers. So we deal with Universal in Queensland. They've got as many stores as David Jones. We also distribute into the US and Canada. But it's also too, like, we're very knowledgeable of the direction they're taking, and we've got that relationship too where it's not all business, there is a friendship there. You know, we always know how we're performing within that store. So it's not something, it couldn't ever be something that just overnight the business wasn't there.
Right.
We could obviously change the ways we're dealing to kind of rectify any situation that wasn't working.
Do you offer your full range through David Jones, or is it a specific range and then you have a much wider range for the rest of the business?
Well, originally we started with our main collection, which was Brent Wilson, and we also have a diffusion line. Since then, it was what the customers wanted. They wanted our diffusion line, so only now do we stock our diffusion line, Brent Wilson, the basics in David Jones.
Okay, so and that's a different price point, isn't it?
Yeah, a lot more accessible price point.
In terms of breaking in overseas and selling overseas, what are the key tips there?
We've actually got a distributor overseas and they approached us. So they were aware of our brand and they've been watching its progress over the years. I'd say to break overseas, you need the right people on the ground there.
So getting the right distributor is the key.
Definitely. Someone that believes in your product, believes in your brand, and also you can have that relationship and friendship and they're willing to push it as hard as you are.
Brent's a terrific bloke, isn't he? With a good business and great advice on how to protect your brand when you go into a big department store. Full interview on the website. Coming up next, it's time for Ask Kochie, where we take your questions and find a solution.
This business tip brought to you by NAB. We see Australian business.
So Mark, can you tell us a little bit about Drummond Golf?
The business was founded in 1974 as a managed business, and in 2002 we took it over and turned it into a fully fledged franchise business.
So how many stores were involved in the business that you took over back in 2002?
There was 14 stores at the time,
Yep.
and they were all principally based in Victoria.
So how many now?
Now 54 in total, 49 of which are standalone franchise operations, and 5 of those franchisees have on-course stores as well.
What are the benefits of banking with the NAB?
The key for us is that people look at the business model that we offer and make an assessment on how strong that offer is, rather than just wanting to have a single dimensional approach to lending being secured with property and so forth. So for us it was really about getting a banker to look at the model we had and what that potentially had to offer.
If you were starting all over again, what tip would you give yourself?
In franchising, recruitment is the key. You know, getting the right people, not necessarily the people with the right capital backing, but the people with the right ability to be able to deliver the model that you've built. And for us, our model being such a service-related model, it's getting people who appreciate high levels of service and the importance of delivering good service to customers and the benefits that can bring to a business.
Visit nab.com.au/small business for more information.
It's Tech Tip Time with Val Quinn.
As many business owners know, training our staff is vitally important. It increases productivity, it keeps our staff members feeling valued, and it adds to the capabilities of your business. But one of the problems with traditional training is that it's very time-consuming, and it costs a lot of money, and even requires staff managers' time to help do the training. One great solution that I've found is online training, and a perfect example is lynda.com. So what is it? It's an extensive range of video training packages that are taught by industry experts as well as educators. And the beauty is that your staff can go through these separate training courses to build their skills. And it doesn't mean that you have to get involved. You can simply track what they've completed. Lynda.com supports a vast range of topics as well. There's office productivity, there's design suites and tools, there's web development tools as well. I really love Lynda's ability to help you go mobile. This means that you can use your smartphone or your tablet to do training courses as well, so staff can learn when they're on the bus or train too. So check out Lynda.com and take a look at the wide range of courses that they have to see how it'll suit your business needs.
Now it's time to answer your questions that you send through the KBB website and Facebook page. Thank you for doing that. First up is Sue, who says, you always say that to start a business, you need an idea to believe in. I've got that idea, but how do I know if I can or need to protect the idea before I start? Good question, Sue. Look, your first stopping point should be IP Australia. They're a government organisation that allows you to trademark and protect ideas. But but there are a whole range of other ways that you can protect it as well, which we've covered on the KBB website. So go to the story there for all the details. It's down in the graphic below us. Also, Alyssa sends in a question saying, I'm working my way through your fantastic DVDs. Thank you, Alyssa. Hey, if you want a copy of the DVDs that go through all the past series, just go to the website there. Alyssa says, I'm wondering if you cover business cards and the information you need to put on them. Alyssa, we do on the website, but it's pretty well common sense. All your contact details, obviously your name and address, email, website, mobile number, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook addresses, all should go on your business card. Remember, this is one of your key marketing tools to hand out at networking occasions or to customers. So all the information should be there, and maybe even a little description of what you do. So it's a reminder when people collect them and look back in the future that they know exactly what you do. Now, if you want to take your business online easily and cheaply, you need KBB Web in a Box. It's a step-by-step process where you build your own website using our array of templates, and you can even enable it for mobiles at the same time. Just go to the website and you will get all the details to download the applications. We'll catch you next time. Next week on KBB, how to get the banks to say yes, tips on how to plan for increasing production, and Sydney entrepreneurs Pete Liu and Nicole Galloway on balancing love with business growth.